On a quiet summer morning in 1960, a trip to a peaceful Finnish lake turned into a national nightmare. Four teenagers went camping, expecting a fun weekend getaway. But by the next morning, only one would be left alive. What truly happened that night at Lake Bodom? The mystery has haunted Finland for more than 60 years, and today, we're diving deep into one of the most chilling unsolved cases in history. It was June 4, 1960. The air was warm, and the long Finnish summer days stretched ahead. Two teenage couples, Naila Meli Björklund and her boyfriend Seppo Antero Boisman, along with their friends Anja Tuulikki and Nils Gustafsson, decided to spend the weekend camping by the picturesque shores of Lake Bodom, just a short trip from Helsinki. They were all between 15 and 18 years old, full of life and looking forward to a simple, carefree adventure. They pitched their tent near the water's edge, ready to swim, talk, and enjoy the midnight sun. The scene was idyllic, a perfect picture of youthful freedom. But as darkness fell over the lake, an unseen predator was lurking, and this peaceful getaway was about to transform into a scene of unimaginable horror. Their laughter would soon be replaced by screams that were swallowed by the silent woods. The following morning, around 6 a.m. on June 5th, a local man out for an early walk stumbled upon a horrifying sight. The teenager's tent was collapsed, torn, and stained with blood. The scene was one of brutal chaos. Inside and around the wreckage lay the bodies of three of the campers, Naila, Anja, and Seppo. They had been viciously attacked, stabbed, and bludgeoned with a level of violence that shocked even seasoned investigators. Amidst the carnage, there was one survivor. Nils Gustafsson was found lying outside the tent, barely conscious, with a concussion, fractured jaw, and numerous bruises. He was alive, but severely injured and in a state of shock. The attacker had struck with savage force, not from inside the tent, but by slashing and stabbing through the canvas from the outside. The motive was a complete mystery. Why would anyone commit such a heinous act against four innocent teenagers? The tranquil shores of Lake Bodom had become a slaughterhouse, and the search for answers was just beginning when the police arrived. The initial investigation was unfortunately plagued by a series of critical errors that would hamper the case for decades to come. The crime scene, which should have been immediately secured, was anything but. Before a proper perimeter was established, curious locals and even off-duty officers had walked through the area, contaminating potential evidence and trampling over footprints. Key items were handled without proper procedure, and some evidence may have been lost forever. The chaos of the initial response made it incredibly difficult to piece together a clear picture of what happened. The murder weapon, believed to be a knife and a blunt object, was never found, despite extensive searches of the surrounding woods and the lake itself. And to make matters even more complicated, the sole survivor, Nils Gustafsson, claimed to have almost no memory of the attack. He told police he saw a fleeting glimpse of an attacker dressed in black with bright red eyes, a description that sounded more like a phantom than a real person. With a compromised crime scene and an amnesiac witness, investigators were facing an uphill battle from the very start. With little physical evidence to go on, theories and suspects began to multiply. The police explored countless leads, each one leading down a different, twisting path. One of the most enduring theories centered on a man named Carl Valdemar Gillström, known locally as the Kiosk Man. He ran a small kiosk near the lake and was known for his aggressive behavior and intense dislike of campers. Years later, on his deathbed, he allegedly confessed to the murders, but the police dismissed it as the ramblings of a disturbed man, and there was no concrete evidence to link him to the crime. Another suspect was Hans Assmann, a former alleged KGB spy who lived in the area. He showed up at a Helsinki hospital the day after the murders with his clothes covered in red stains, which he claimed were from paint. He fit the description of a mysterious man seen leaving the area, but again, nothing definitive could ever pin him to the scene. The investigation stalled, and for decades, the case went cold. The public was left to speculate. Was it a random act of violence by a passing madman? A robbery gone horribly wrong? Or something far more personal? Then, in a shocking twist more than 40 years after the murders, the case was suddenly blown wide open. In 2004, Finnish authorities announced a major breakthrough. Based on new analysis of bloodstains found on Nils Gustafsson's shoes and inside the tent, they believed they had finally solved the puzzle. They arrested and charged the sole survivor, Nils Gustafsson, with the murders of his 3 friends. The prosecution's theory was that an explosive argument had broken out among the teenagers, possibly fueled by jealousy. They claimed Nils, in a fit of rage, killed his friends and then inflicted his own injuries to stage the scene and position himself as a victim. The trial captivated Finland. The prosecution presented its forensic analysis, while the defense argued it was impossible for a single injured person to have committed such a brutal attack, and that the evidence was circumstantial at best. After a lengthy and highly publicized trial, the court delivered its verdict in 2005. Nils Gustafsson was found not guilty of all charges. The court ruled that the prosecution had failed to prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt, and Nils was a free man once again. The sensational trial had only deepened the mystery. If Nils didn't do it, then who did? Today, the Lake Bodom murders remain one of the most infamous unsolved crimes in Nordic history. The killer, or killers, vanished without a trace, leaving behind a legacy of fear and unanswered questions. The case has become a part of Finnish folklore, a chilling campfire story that happens to be horrifyingly true. True crime enthusiasts and amateur detectives from around the world continue to dissect the evidence, proposing new theories and hoping for a confession or a long-lost clue to finally surface. But the lake itself remains silent, guarding its dark secret beneath the calm, deep water. Was it the kiosk man, driven by a hatred of campers? Was it the mysterious spy, Hans Assmann? Or was it an unknown drifter who simply disappeared into the night? Perhaps the truth is something no one has ever considered. The one person who might hold the key, Nils Gustafsson, has maintained his innocence and his memory lost for over 60 years. The truth of what happened on that terrible night lies buried with the victims, a permanent and chilling enigma at the bottom of Lake Bodom. What do you think happened on that fateful night? Was it a random act of pure evil, or was there a more personal motive hidden in the relationships between the 4 teenagers? Let us know your theories in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this case as fascinating as we did, please hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next dive into the world's greatest unsolved mysteries. We'll see you in the next video.